The quote that's on the back of the book, and something I very strongly believe in, is that people don't do business with a logo, they do business with a person. The goal is to make you an authority in your industry and market, so there's no need for anybody to do business with anyone else in your industry. I'll let that sink in for just a moment. I paid my way through college selling vacuum cleaners door to door. How glamorous was that? Not very.
I think you knocked on my door once.
I might have. You never know. But I'm telling you one thing you didn't buy because I would have remembered. What I noticed early on is that the business owners who were very successful in their markets were almost always the ones who were in their radio commercials, in their newspaper ads, in their TV ads, and so forth. And I started to think, but what else is it behind those people that make them do what they do, and why are some a lot more successful than others? I would bring them in 2 or 3 at a time sometimes to craft radio commercials for them and help them write their own commercials and voice their own commercials, standing right behind them in the studio, pointing at and say, no, 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 emphasize that word, and that one, and that one. They hated it for the first few times, but then it made them stars. You have to have character if you expect to gain the kind of trust that it takes for people to do business with you and go beyond the logo and to the person. Confidence is not just how you feel about something. Confidence is the experience that comes behind it, the knowledge that you have to back it up. You can't talk about confidence without talking about ego, right? Well, this is my favorite definition because, you know, I think all of us have our own personal brand, and I choose to just not believe that it's negative at all. I choose to call it the enduring and conscious element that knows experience. You can have a lot of character and not be a brand face, but you can't be a brand face without confidence. Now, this is the one that can make or break you. You can have the character, you can have the confidence, but if you don't have the clarity in what you're doing, hang it up. You're just like everybody else. Over all of the years that I've been working with personal branding, I have noticed that there are 3 different types of personalities that I deal with. First one is going to be what I call the game face. And the game face is somebody who has no problem at all being the face of their brand. They make no apologies for it. I am the face of my brand. Do business with me. You can trust me. I'm here. The next one is save face. Now, this is the person who internally knows that they really don't have any problem being the face of the brand. They would love to do that. But the reason they hesitate is they don't want other people to think poorly of them. They don't want other people to judge them or think they're narcissistic. The last one is called about face. And about face is really someone who just never thought of it before. But upon further investigation, and when they talk about it, they think about it, it makes perfect sense to them. There are really 2 ways that you can get to number 1. So you can outmarket and outdeliver, or you can outspend and outdeliver. Guess what happens to the companies who don't have a really good point of differentiation? What do? They're forced to outspend and outdeliver because they don't stand out. Some of you might say, okay, outmarket does mean spend. But no, I challenge you. It does not always mean spend more. I know you. Is that what you're saying over there? I can hear you whispering. Just don't hire a clown. Clowns are creepy. In the first 13, 14 months that we worked together, his web traffic increased 3,000%. His leads went up from 2 a week to 125 a month. And his real estate revenue increased 1,700%. He did such a fantastic job of executing all the brand face concepts flawlessly over these last couple of years that I invited him to be my co-author for Brand Face for Real Estate Professionals. And so, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Carr.
I can tell you that I was definitely a save-face person because when I first met Tonya, we sort of met oddly. Her aunt was one of my agents that came in from another agent, and they were partners. And they kept saying, you need to talk to Tonya, you need to talk to Tonya. She's a marketing guru. And at that time, I had been through about 5 or 6 marketing gurus, and I was tired of it. I was fed up. I'm like, I'm done. I had left the auction.com scene, and I had traveled for 7 years, and I was fed up with it. I was going to disappear, a lot like Alan, and just spend the rest of my days fishing. And she's like, no, you're going to come into this. So I was a save face. And she convinced me that with the authenticity authenticity of what you're trying to do, and the loyalty and the genuineness of your product, you can become the brand face without having an arrogant, egotistical view to it. He owned a real estate company that sold farms, and every month, on the same day of the month, he produced a report of every farm that was sold in Bartow County. And everybody knew over the course of 42 years that Charlie was going to put out this white paper, effectively. A one white bond paper, barely had a logo, if any at all. He had a phone number and his address on it. But he put it out there, and when it came time to sell, they called Charlie. And they usually are lessons that you've learned, and then by osmosis, they are a promotional tool because they sort of set you aside as an authority, and even though it might be peripheral to what you're actually doing, it gives you credibility. And in the video, you would explain to them what you would say if you were standing in front of them. This video has been phenomenally successful because we've never had anybody watch the video that wanted to see houses that didn't sign the buyer's agency agreement. And so you can automatically, I'm sure, be thinking about how you can apply that in your own industry for any questions that you get hit on all the time. And the other thing that it does, and this is an important part about being a brand face, I can't touch every customer or client. I like to, but I can't, right? And so this gives a personal note, if you will, from me. We also will tell you about some other content that we use to do that, so I can reach out to people even though I can't actually shake their hand or meet them. And now what happened with that was that the client that is working with one of my agents is seeing me more as an authority of what that agent is talking about, rather than that agent being a salesperson for what we were talking about. And so it became, it's been a very powerful tool with our company. I asked her, I said, okay, we put these out here, is all the competition going to steal it? And she said, that's what you want. Of course that's what you want. You want them to copy you, effectively, because the odds are they're not going to do it as good as you. And if you stay authentic and genuine to the way you do it, and you're constantly driving, they're just following.
Here's a funny story with Michael. Okay, it took me, I don't know how many phone calls and to sell this guy on hiring me as his consultant the very first time out of the box. It was not an easy task. And so we went back and forth, and finally he said, Tonya, what you're talking to me about is creating this kind of content, and you're talking about blogging, and you're talking about doing all these things. I do not have time to do that. That's why I'm hiring you. And so, okay, I understand that, but you're still going to have to do it. So before you sign that dotted line, just know that I will do as much as I can, but you are still going to have to participate. You can't just like phone it in. But
it didn't hurt as bad as I thought it would.
It did not. Thank you for saying. Can you say that one more time out loud?
It did not hurt as bad as I thought it would.
Thank you. That's recorded, so on both those cameras right there.